Welcome in. It's an all-new Jock Market Power Hour for this week's FedEx St. Jude Championship. I'm Rick Aiming that right there, Joe Idoni. Joe, happy playoff Wednesday.
Playoffs are here, baby. We got 3 events left in the 2023 regular season. We're down to 70 guys, less guys to talk about tonight. The markets are heating up. IPO closes at 9 that you have there. Happy to be alongside you once again to break things down.
Yep, I've got some bids in already. You already mentioned it. 70 golfers in the field this week. There is no cut. I'm trying to think, what was the last no cut event we had?
Wow, you're testing me there.
I don't know. I mean, that's a genuine question. It feels like it's been a while.
I mean, does match play count?
No.
No, it does not count. Was Zozo a cut? Is it that far?
No, but that was like in October. Hold on, let's see. So October, we didn't have a cut.
Century.
Tournament of Champions.
Yeah.
There's nothing after that? I'm scrolling through. Oh my God. We've had a cut every event since the Tournament of Champions? Yes.
It's been a weird year for everything, man.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. Well, let's refresh then because it's been 8 months. How will 4 guaranteed rounds change your strategy in the market tonight, or will it not?
I think it should a little bit. It's interesting. There is a lot of data if you go back of players who play better versus not well in terms of 36 hole cuts versus not. I think it lends itself a bit more to an aggressive style player. Like there was a while where Justin Thomas was really, really good at no cut events because he is an aggressive player that goes for it and would often shoot a 63, but could it potentially implode? And sometimes getting through the cut line after a Friday can maybe adjust the way a player plays, and having a guaranteed 72 holes that you know you're going to get in oftentimes rewards players who are out there and just hunting birdies, right? Because there's really nothing to lose. Everyone in the field's getting paid. Of course, there is the added incentive this week of trying to qualify for the additional week, but I think it's a little bit different. How about you?
Yeah, I think we've seen that high ceiling golfers are generally low floor golfers. That's how that works. And having a low floor round on Thursday or Friday most weeks means you are not around for the weekends, but the ability to get an opportunity for 2 more high upside rounds is generally better. And I think that there's plenty of data, there's plenty of evidence that bears that out. Now, the other thing that you mentioned, not only is it a no-cut event, but there are guys jockeying for finishing positions. Getting into the top 50, critical, gets you access to all the signature events for next year, gets you into everything. So those guys, 51 through 70, yes, of course, they're trying to play their best golf, but they are going to have eye on scoreboard, especially because it is much more valuable for them to be aggressive and try to make a bunch of birdies than it is for Jon Rahm, for example.
Yeah, that's a great point. If you're sitting like 46 right now, go out and make as many birdies. The advantage of being top 50 is not only qualification into next week, it's getting you into all the elevated events next season. So it's a make or break week for a lot of those guys in like the 35 to 70 range. And they all have a lot to play for. It's going to completely adjust many of their schedules next season, whether they get in or whether they do not get in. So arguably one of the more important weeks of the year at a golf course, which we seemingly have a pretty good pulse on in terms of what's lent itself to be successful here. We've seen it a number of times, especially during these FedEx Cup playoffs with elite caliber fields. So I'm excited to see everything sort of kick off tomorrow. And it seems like it's been forever since we had all the big names back since the Open Championship. So it'll be nice to get the Rahms and Schefflers and Rorys back teeing it up.
Yeah, 3 weeks ago. It does feel like forever.
Forever in golf season.
It basically is. We're playing Jock Market. So this is stock market DFS, a little bit different way to end our week of content. All these golfers are now stocks, and you can bid on shares of them, and there are guaranteed payouts based on finishing position. So really all you're asking is for your golfer to outperform his expectation. So 10th place, that is a guaranteed payout of $9.5 per share, which means if you bought a golfer at $8 per share and they finished in 10th, you were going to make $1.50 per share. You can have as many golfers in your portfolio or as few golfers in your portfolio that you would like. If you want to get involved, we have a code. Power, link in the description. It'll get you the best deposit bonus available. Joe, let's look back at last week here. Wyndham Championship. For some solid examples, Lucas Glover, $6 in IPO last week, went for $25 a share, the full $19 per share of profit. Russell Henley did it to us again. Another Wyndham Championship, coulda, woulda, shoulda, but still here in this market, very, very profitable. $11.80 of profit for every share of Russell Henley that you had.
Another late bogey barrage out of Mr. Henley to let you down with an outright ticket. But as you can see there, more than double your money in terms of what you paid per share during the IPO to what the payout was at $20 per share. Even someone like JT Poston, right, had super high expectations last week. Ultimately, I think in some formats, potentially a letdown for you in terms of maybe depending on how you played him in DFS. If you bet him outright, he obviously was never really truly in contention, but able to sort of ride that form and continue to show you another profitable performance out of someone like Poston. So all of this stuff is great information to have. I love how you brought up the valuations a moment ago, because for those who are used to the past couple of weeks, they are modified and adjusted this week, given the fact that we only have 70 players in the field. Like you had, what does 10th place pay this week?
So 10th is $9.50.
10th is $9.50. So 10th typically will pay out $11 per share, but you're dealing with a little less than half the field size that we had last week at the Wyndham Championship. So it's going to pay out all the way down to 49th place is going to be basically the last marker before you get to the bottom, $1 per share for the 50 through 70 finishes. Something to definitely pay attention to and monitor as you make your bids, because that matters.
I'm glad you mentioned that. The payout curve is different this week, and presumably it'll be different next week, and then presumably it'll be different again at the Tour Championship. So keep an eye on that. Still the 25, 20 up top. It just kind of flattens out a little bit for the smaller field this week. Real quick, just kind of looking back here, the big movers last week were Michael Kim, $2.56 to $14 per share. Charlie Hoffman, $2.26 to $9.50. Robert Streb back at it again, $1.87 to $7.50 per share. So you don't need to win. You just need to be better than expectation. And when you can adjust your brain to think like that, you can make some pretty good money in this market.
Yeah, like we talked about, there's a price for every player in the field, and we start with that fair value number, which we'll use to sort of isolate some guys here momentarily for bullish or bearish. And it's a good idea to sort of play this game like yourself. Like if you have a fair value price, to think about whether you're willing to pay more or less than that on a player to move them over into your favorited guys. And that way you are more prepared as the final minutes of the IPO tick very quickly. And there are a lot of moves made in a rapid amount of time. So to be prepared and have that sort of mindset ready to go is always helpful.
Yeah. So that break even, that fair value, that suggested price, you're seeing it listed here for each one of these golfers. $7.01 for Jon Rahm. That is asking him to finish 14th or better based on the valuations, right? Because $7 is 15th. So you'd be basically break even there. You'd make money on $7.50. So that's the spot for Jon Rahm. So do you think Jon Rahm can finish 14th or better? That's the question you're asking yourself. And obviously everybody's different, right? Benny On's fair value is 27th, right? Or his, I guess that's his current price. But you get the point. You can click on each one of these golfers and see what their suggested fair value is. It's a calculation based on how often are they going to win? How often are they going to finish second, third, fourth, etc., all the way down based on the payout. So very, very handy. I use it all the time. It just makes the whole thing simple. Yep. Let's play bullish or bearish. Our opportunity to take a look at 4 different golfers and decide, that's right, whether we are bullish or bearish. We are going to start with Tommy Fleetwood, the 9th pre-ranked golfer. $5.93 is his fair value. That's asking Tommy lad to finish about 18th or better. Joe, are you bullish or bearish on Fleetwood?
Bullish. I think he's hungry, and I think that's important. And obviously, a bit of there's no other way to slice it other than the Open Championship had to be a bit demoralizing for him. Being up there near the top of the leaderboard, albeit far behind Brian Harmon. I think that he always had a chance. There was obvious rooting interest there for him in the field. Just a tough event to end up finishing T10 in. But if you zoom out a little bit on his last 5 events, the 10th was his second worst finish. There's a 6th in there. There's a 5th. There's a 4th. He's been playing fantastic. Over the last 20 rounds, there are only a handful of guys gaining more than 2 strokes per round in this entire field. Tommy Fleetwood's one of them. I think that this is a course that should, although the course history is not fantastic, I think his current skill set with where he is gaining strokes and how he is currently formed is set up well for this type of event. I'm bullish on his sort of fair value price, and I think that he plays pretty well.
I think that's right. You kind of just think about this, and Tommy Fleetwood's having an awesome year, right? He's been piling up the top 5s, top 10s, top 15 finishes. He's been doing it in a very well-rounded way, but we're back in America, so nobody wants to talk about Tommy, right? I mean, think about what the oxygen that was being spent at the Scottish Open, at the Open Championship, myself included, T6, T10. He did nothing. I mean, that's the opposite of disappointing. He returned everything you were expecting and then some. Now, well, we're back in America. It doesn't matter, right? I think the stance to take is certainly one to be bullish on Tommy Fleetwood. He's been phenomenal.
Yeah, those strokes gain total numbers that you have there, plus 7.5 in 7 of his last 9 starts. He's been fantastic. I think the run continues. I think that he's primed for a nice little run. And like for what it's worth, it's kind of a spot where we've seen some guys play pretty well and break through. I think back to Will Zalatoris last year where we were all just eagerly awaiting the win, and this is where it came. So maybe some good omen there for Mr. Fleetwood.
All right, I'm going to put in a bid on Tommy right now, right at his fair value, 582, 19th or better for Tommy. I'll put in 15 shares. We'll see how quickly.
Sold.
Yeah, we'll see how quickly I can. Somebody outbids me on those. We'll find out. Next up is Colin Morikawa. He is 14th in the pre-rank. His fair value is 545, but he's already over that. So I'm going to adjust him up to 650, which is going to be 25th or better. He actually might do better than that as well, Joe. I'll just tell you, he's one of the few guys I've bet this week. If that gives you any indication, I'm quite bullish on Colin's chances around this place.
Okay, I'll take the other side. I'm actually a little bit bearish, believe it or not. So I just think it comes down to a couple of things. I think that he's a highly likable player that had very high expectations and is well known coming into this year who has underperformed. I think in those scenarios, people are quick to grab a reason to jump back on board. And I think that if you just look at the finishes, one good finish at the Rocket Mortgage Classic in a field that doesn't sniff what the competition that he's going to play this week is not enough for me. And I think it's sort of artificially inflated for those reasons. He is terrible on Bermuda grass. If this place plays anything like it has in the past in terms of, I don't know, Florida setup with a lot of water, he basically skips the entire Florida swig every year. He just doesn't putt well on these surfaces. He doesn't putt well, period. And I think the iron play is fantastic, but I don't know that that's enough to generate like a top 10, which is going to be required to return you a profit this week.
Here's what I imagine. I imagine Colin Morikawa hitting every fairway, marking his ball, cleaning it off, putting it back down for preferred lies, and then firing darts to just TrackMan soft greens. That's what I envision. It could go wrong. It could definitely go wrong. We've seen that at times, but at least maybe Thursday. Thursday might be a good day for Colin. We'll see. Next up, Tony Finau. Speaking of Rocket Mortgage, he's had good success at the Rocket Mortgage, not this year. 3M Open was the last time we saw him, T7. He is sitting at a fair value of 535, which is 32nd or better. Are you bullish or bearish on Tony Finau for this week?
I'm actually bullish on that price. I think he didn't have a second place like Colin had at the Rocket Mortgage, but I don't think people are giving him quite enough credit for a really solid performance at the 3M. 32nd or better, finishing in the top half of the field at a place where he's had pretty good success in the past. If he can keep it aligned off the tee. And the 3M Open is one of those courses that has a lot of water and is very penal off the tee. And he's had a ton of success there. He's had pretty good numbers across the board here at St. Jude with a 5th place last year. I think he's one where I may be on the opposite of what I just said about Colin, want to be a little bit early on. And I think that he has a lot to play for these next couple of weeks with a Ryder Cup spot potentially available and just getting himself into that top 30 and making a deep run for a ton of cash. I know he's lost in 8 of the last 10. I'm just willing to take a bullish side in this occasion.
Yeah, that's fine. And listen, this is good because we're on opposite sides of things this week. I think we were pretty much aligned last week. You described me. You said there are people who are not giving him enough credit for that 3M Open. It's like, yep, right here. Because I just always get a little bit cautious when I see a guy who's not playing well go back to a place that he's played great at and he played well. And it's almost like, okay, yeah, you were supposed to do that. You did what you were supposed to do. Now go do it somewhere you're not, or go do it multiple weeks in a row. So hand up, that's me, one of these guys who is not giving him enough credit. I will take one more wait and see approach on Tony Finau before he gets any of my investments, but we'll see.
Fair enough. Who we got next?
Finally. And this is, I know I'm talking to the right guy here. $5.17 of fair value. Our 20th pre-ranked golfer is Denny McCarthy. Oh boy. Even the bullish of bulls, Joe Idoni, are you looking at this stat profile with any level of concern?
Oh man, it's tough to see those ball striking numbers. I'll tell you that, but I am looking at it with concern. I still think that I'm bullish. I'm willing to go back there this week. Zoom out a little bit long term. He's had the best season of his entire career. He's had some good history here. I think this is a course that isn't going to prohibit him in terms of distance off the tee and might actually reward him a little bit if he's able to hit some fairways around here. I am cautiously bullish because the numbers have certainly trended in the wrong direction. Last week, he burned a lot of people. The Open Championship, he burned a ton of people. I think he may get a little bit of a discounted price, and I believe he's finished inside the top 20 in like 10 of his 25 events this year. He's had a really good year on the whole. If the price is in there in sort of the mid-30s to finish, I like Denny this week. I'm going to go back to the well.
I had a megaphone out saying, do not worry about those 11 strokes that he lost at Royal Liverpool. Don't worry about it. It's a tough place and it's his first Open. And then he lost 6 more at Sedgefield. And I just wanted to crawl into a hole because now I don't know. Now
it was like 2 shots though for the right.
You tell me.
I think it was 2 shots. It was 2 water balls where he lost basically almost 2 strokes. He lost 4 strokes total on 2 swings. And he missed the cut on the number, and he almost came back and had a heroic made cut. You're right. There's definitely reason to be concerned. Are you bullish or bearish?
I'm bearish, man. I'm so scared. I just am so scared that it is now off the tracks. I hope I'm wrong because Denny's been awesome. I would love for him to make a run at the Ryder Cup team and get a putter on that squad. Like, I would love that. I hope I'm wrong, but he will not be getting my bucks tonight, unfortunately.
So for the record, Ryan Baroff knows a good friend of his who we've been texting this week, who was paired in the Pro-Am today with Denny. And I'm like, tell me about him. Was he so cool? Like, how did he play? Is he striping it? I had all these things I wanted to know. And he replied with 3 words, Denny was awful. They only got 9. Yeah, he said they only got 9 holes in, but he said he did not play very well.
First of all, everybody plays well in Pro-Ams. How did he not? Oh my God, that's terrifying. That is so scary. Good inside info. We should pay. How can we get someone in every pro? We need an insider in every Pro-Am group. Yeah. That would be sick.
It's tough though, because these guys are so likely to bounce back and we're likely to overreact to it. And if they do have a really good round, like I think I saw like Scotty and Lee Hodges or something for like 9 under through 10. Like, are they going to back that up tomorrow? I don't know. We saw We saw Bryson put 2 pretty good rounds together in a
Yeah,
row. So
I think that way the way that works as well is so you get Scotty for 9 holes, then you get Lee Hodges for 9 holes. So the amateurs play 18 and they flip
right.
pros at the
Is
tournament.
that how it works?
Yeah,
Okay. And then obviously the amateurs are getting strokes. So if you have a freaking
correct.
sandbagger in there who's getting 2 strokes on some holes and they make a par for an eagle, you're doing pretty well.
Correct. Yes, exactly right. All right. We are going to unveil the big board for the first time tonight. This is the live pricing. If you want to get involved, still plenty of time. Got about 23 minutes until this IPO closes. But then, of course, live trading begins. And we're not going to stop here. Even after the Tour Championship, golf starts right back up again. So you might as well get involved. Link in the description. Power is the code you want. That's the best deposit bonus available. And John Rahm has already surpassed his fair value of $7.01. He's at $7.20. That will ask John Rahm to finish about 21st or better. It will go much higher than that. Joe, coming off the runner-up finish at the Open Championship, that's the last time we saw him. The Rahm destruction of the Jock Market might be back tonight.
I like it. I bet John Rahm this week. I think that his form has been trending. I think that he's another player who is very hungry to come into these FedEx Cup playoffs and cash and earn himself the Player of the Year trophy that I think he rightfully deserves. And frankly, I just think of Scotty and Rory both switching putters this week. Did you see that? Is that confirmed?
That is what they said in their presser. Scotty's going to use a custom spider, and Rory's going to use Scotty Cameron Phantom. But he said it's on a very short leash. He said if I don't putt well with it for the first couple of days, I brought my spider with me. So it is a very short leash. I'm not sure about Scotty's.
These are always dangerous narratives, but I kind of like Scotty going complete radical change with a spider mallet, which is something that will sort of look unusual, and anything can help at this point. It's going to depend on price. I think that Scotty ultimately ends up the highest priced guy, although Rahm is double his price right now, less than 20 minutes from IPO close. So we'll see how things sort of shake out. All things being equal, I like John Rahm a lot this week.
The next guy, look at this. Ricky Fowler, a little bit of positive run out early in this market over his fair value already. He's at $6.02 to put that into perspective. 28th or better for Ricky. This is the guy that I don't know, Joe. It's weird. I was going to say I thought he was flying a bit under the radar. Doesn't appear to be right now, just because we spent so much oxygen talking about Ricky. And then he finally won, and everyone was like, all right, well, go move on to somebody else. He's been phenomenal. His year's going great.
He's been playing so awesome. I'm a little bit like red flagged about the current price that he's at. If he's like inside the top 6 guys, I don't know. I think
Too much.
I think it's too much. Yeah. We'll see how things shake out with those other guys around him. But I think if he's where he's at typically on an odds board this week, I'm okay with it. But if he's priced ahead of players like Xander and Victor and Patrick Cantlay, like if he's up there in that range, I tend to lean those other guys. I think have more upside.
Colin Morikawa, Sam Burns. Sam Burns, my guy. Very excited about Sam this week. 540. Let's actually just flip this around here. So here's Scotty at 360. That's gonna catch up. Rory McIlroy at 203. That's gonna catch up. They're probably gonna be 1, 2, and 3 in the pricing when this is all said and done. That next tier, though, Joe, is pretty interesting. That's like the Victor Hovland, Patrick Cantlay, Xander Schauffele, and I'll even throw Terrell Hatton into the mix. This is where, in most formats, you would say, pick your favorite guy and roll with him. You don't have to choose just one. You could get shares of all of these guys. I think there's reason to be excited about each one of them.
Yeah, there absolutely is. There are points to go. I think the most consistent, albeit he hasn't really contended for a win, is probably Tyrrell of the 4. Those other 3 I'm very interested in just because the bids are so low right now. Victor, Cantlay, Schauffele and Cantlay are still $1 per share, so they have still on their baseline, and Victor's only a quarter up. If I made you pick one of those 3, who do you like the best?
Ooh, I think it's Xander. Xander, then Victor. Cantlay's weird. Cantlay doesn't really play well off of multiple week breaks, and he has started to cool off a little bit. And I'm not sure this is a particularly great spot for him. Xander, I think this is a better spot for, and Victor loves the golf course, but has never really played well here, which I think is kind of weird. I'm excited to see him around Olympia Fields next week, but I think it's Xander by a nose.
Yep. I think Xander's been the most consistent and probably in the best form really super recently. I do like Victor probably the best personally, and I agree with you that Cantlay. I just think he hasn't been playing enough, and he has played not well here, but he has been a killer in the FedEx Cup playoffs. He's got some wins through there. I know that he's hoisted the BMW, I think, twice, but this just hasn't been a spot where things have really clicked. 57th and 23rd his last two times. Xander not very good either, 57th and 46th. But all three of these players have been struggling a bit here, but it'll be interesting to see kind of how they're priced and where the public perception is on these three as we sort of wind down IPO.
Numbers 8 through 15 or so. There are a couple names in here that we already talked about, like Colin Morikawa, Tommy Fleetwood, Ricky Fowler, but also residing Wyndham Clark, twice a winner this year in some massive events. Max Homa, who Joe is quietly playing a lot better golf. So where do you stand on this? Homa, who's been kind of slumping, is seemingly getting out of it. 21st, 12th, and 10th in his last three. However, he's played a lot here compared to his peers, and it is ugly.
Yeah, it is. I don't know about Max. I kind of am probably just going to watch from the sidelines this week. He's saying the right things. I love what I hear him, speak into existence, and that he's playing much better. And the numbers bear it out as well. Like you see the performances. All of them are going to tell you that they're playing well. Justin Thomas is telling you that he's playing at a top 5 level right now.
These guys are all frauds. It's all coach speak. You know, in the NFL, especially right now, when every player's in the best shape of their life and everybody's got it's incredible. These guys are frauds. You cannot trust the word that comes out of their mouths.
I trust the data, though, a little bit. And the ball striking numbers have definitely shown two of his best performances have come in the last 3 starts. So he's been picking it up a little bit there, potentially breaking the slump, like you said. But I'm more wait and see. Wyndham Clark's interesting to me because this guy's been basically doing it since January.
Same thing. Every week,
all season long, consistent. If you're going to ask him to top 30 in this field, I love that number. He's got a couple of assets that have been fantastic. He's really savvy around the greens, which I do place some importance on this year. He is one of the top 5 longest players in the field, and he's been one of the most consistent ball strikers this entire 2023 season. Yeah. I think he's the safest bet probably, which is kind of wild to say with these other names.
Yeah, seriously. What's the state of the union on Tom Kim? $5 a share right now, getting close to his own fair value. I think this place sets up awesome for him. The only concern is the ankle, and I am not a doctor.
Yeah, same here. I just don't know. I worry, they had him on the coverage talking about how disappointed he was that he physically could not play 4 days ago.
I'm sure he's fine now.
Yeah, I'm sure he's totally fine. He could not compete and contend and defend his title 4 days ago. I have some concerns. I probably will not have any shares of him.
My biggest concern. So I am speculating all of this. I have no idea about anything, but my biggest concern is that he is kind of more willing to gut it out for an Open Championship than he is this week, considering he's like 12th in the FedEx Cup. Like, he does not need to risk it this week. If he sat out, he'd be fine for next week. He'd still give himself a really good chance to make a run at the Tour Championship. I know it's a staggered start and all that fun stuff, but I am a little bit worried about that aspect of it.
Yeah, you're right. It is disconcerting. I think maybe it's a move to potentially, he has good form here, so maybe he's just trying to, maybe he's trying to build and stack points so he gets himself into that like top 8 for the final 30 match. I'm not really sure.
Look at some of the guys who are popping early here. Brian Harman, haven't seen him since he hoisted the Claret Jug, 501. He's like the 8th most expensive golfer in the market with 14 minutes to go. Look at Benny On, fresh off his runner-up finish last week, 455. JT Poston's been hot. Cam Davis, Russell Henley. We're seeing a little bit of a run on the middle of the board right now, Joe.
Some names there. Who's the fraud? Pick out the fraud of this group.
The fraud is Ben On.
Okay. I think it's a good call.
I
I
mean,
was going to say Cameron Davis, even though I love Cameron Davis, but Ben on being nearly $5 already is a bit out of whack.
yeah, and I understand he's putting a lot better, which is great. He's going to need it. He drives it well. He drives it beautifully, but he is absolutely in line for a -2, -3, -4 approach week, which happens all the time. It's very high upside, very low floor.
Giant swings with the iron play from week to week where there's sort of not really a balance there on a course where there's water in play on like 14 holes is not generally a great recipe.
I must admit, I have been growing a lot on Sam Straka, or I don't even know his name, Sepp Straka, as of late. He's accurate. He's probably going to play out of the fairway if we get preferred lies. I like that. He's played well around here. Like there's some guys, him and Grillo and Jaeger. Like those are my little darlings for this week. Do you have any darlings for this week?
Straka's on a wave right now of
Yeah.
like he's going to be in the Ryder Cup. He got his win. He's coming back to a place where he lost in a playoff last
The
year, which
best,
really
best playoff of the year.
best playoff I've maybe ever seen in
Yeah.
terms of like what is going to happen on this rock right now. That was so wild. And
They put a plaque up. Did you know that?
No, did they?
put a plaque right next on the grass, right next to where Zalatoris's ball was on the rock there.
Didn't they make him? No, was this about where they made him go back and hit it on Monday again, or was that? Am I thinking of a different tournament?
I don't know.
I think they made him go back and like try it.
And what did he do? Hit it in the water?
No, he was able to. He hit it like way past the green.
Oh, I think I remember what you're talking about.
But yeah, just a crazy finishing sort of event on that little par 3 there, which was a ton of fun. But he's playing fantastic. I would say if I had to pick a darling, it's probably Adam Svensson. He played well again last week. He gave me a nice little sweat. He was leader through 2 rounds. I just see a return in what he's doing with his iron play, which was in a deep slump. It's the strength of his game. You put an 8-9 pitching wedge in his hand, and he is fantastic. He is a great player. He's shown up on the leaderboards a couple of times. Top 7 last week, top 20 at the John Deere, trending into good form. I think that he's probably a nice little price on someone down at the bottom that I like.
I think your analysis is spot on. You know, there was when he was just starting up, everyone was always very impressed with his ball striking. And then he kind of lost that. But to see 3 straight weeks positive, multiple strokes gained in both off the tee and approach, the putter's been better. Yeah, I agree with you. There's obviously something brewing there for Adam Svensson. Going further down the list, and now we're firmly into kind of penny stock territory here. And these guys, some of them did a lot of work in the fall, like Matt Neesmith and Taylor Montgomery. Other guys have come on, better as of late. Maybe Davis Riley could be included in that category. Is there anybody super far down the board that you are interested in?
I like Corey Connors actually this week on a course that demands sort of accuracy off the tee. I think this is a good spot for him. The other one, and I'm trying to find his price because I know that he is sort of a little bit of a darling in some other fantasy formats in terms of being a player that is maybe too cheap, thought by most. But where's Andrew Putnam? Because he's got a couple of top 5s here. He's playing decent golf. I just wonder where things are going to shake out from him. From
364, his fair value is 468. So 364 this week is 46th in a 70-man field.
Yeah, consistent, pretty solid putter, and has had a great track record in Memphis.
You know what? That's not right. Because our dashboard is not updated in terms
right. Yeah, I noticed that earlier.
Sorry, my bad. You should have said something. That's on me. So what was it? 340? That is like 30th or so.
Okay. That's starting to get to be a lot to ask.
He's got unbelievable course history here, right? 4 starts here. You mentioned runner-up T5, playing better as of late. Yeah, okay. I get it. Interesting. About 9 minutes to go. This IPO is going to close, and these bids are going to be allocated. Let me see if I can refresh this here and get you some updated numbers now that I know my my dashboard is not correct.
Well, it's hard because you got to kind of have both up. That's the reason I
Yeah.
noticed it early on in the show when you kind of brought it up that it was a little bit different there.
Yeah, usually we get this. So this is a custom tool we have, and usually we get that one updated as well. We might have to reach out next week. Okay, so this market is maturing. Rahm still leads the way, 720. Rory McIlroy, 634. A little bit of a slump here on some of the bigger name players. Patrick Cantlay, Xander Schauffele, Victor Hovland can all be had for 475 or less, Joe. This is obviously a run coming, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was wondering your thoughts on pricing because even the fair values at $7 for like John Rahm feel very low, and Scotty Scheffler. I wonder if that's a product mainly of the valuation shift. Is it a product of a smaller elite field where we see a little bit more balance in the terms of player quality at the top? But it does feel like the majority of those guys ultimately probably surpassed it. Like we haven't seen Scotty Scheffler go for under $10 in forever.
Yeah, but what's crazy is I don't think the fair value, I think they're a little off. And we've seen this.
Me too.
We've seen this at times, but I don't think they're super bad. So just put this into perspective. So Rahm is minus 105 to finish inside the top 10. Now there's juice there. So you imagine, okay, maybe that's, what is that? What does that equate to? 2 spots of juice. So maybe it's 12th or better, something like that. So basically what that would be saying is, I think the fair values are $1 out of, I think they're like 10% too low.
Yes. Yep. I would agree. Maybe even attach more. Like what's Scott? Do you have the numbers to up?
Maybe
What's Scotty minus like
minus 150 to finish top 10. So
yeah, and that's
what's his fair value?
That's a $9.50 payout in terms of the top 10. That seems like a very fair number to buy in at Scotty to top 10 this event, getting him at 950 versus paying a sportsbook minus 150. And if he finishes 11th, you ultimately lose there where you get a lot of your money back in this format.
Maybe it is 18% too low, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe somewhere in that 15 to 20 range feels like it's a bit too low. So what I think is going to happen then, Joe, is and I got to get you out of here so you can bid, but I think we're going to see a lot of guys over their fair value, which kind of hammers home the point that you talked about earlier, having your own fair values. If you have your own fair values, you don't need this.
Yep. Having your own fair values is a great way to attack it. It allows you to sort of correlate betting odds and correlate head-to-head matchups, and also just throw in your own thoughts in there and like adjust things accordingly. Like if you don't think Denny's going to play well, you move him down a couple of spots and your fair value. If you do think that someone like Tony Finau is good for a nice run this week, then you can move him up. So it allows you to basically create a target price for every player. And I think with less guys in the field, that becomes a little bit easier and more manageable to do.
Yeah, and it'll only get more manageable as these next couple of weeks go on. So if you want to now, if you're not doing it, now would be the time to at least take a crack at it. All right, Joe. 8:54 p.m. Eastern time. You get out of here. We got 6 minutes to go. Joe's going to go try to get as many bids in as he can, and we'll catch up with him and see what his portfolio is here in a couple of minutes. I will take you the rest of the way, and I'll let you know that my 3 orders. Did I have somebody else? I've got 3 orders that are still in that are still good. I'll just tell you, they're Sam Ryder, Steven Yeager, Tommy Fleetwood. We'll see if I can hold on to them. I think I'm about to lose out on Tommy. We'll see where these other ones go, because I went in at fair values, and quite frankly, we think they're a little bit off. So I might be losing on all these guys. I might have to readjust here in a second, but I will keep you up to date on this pricing over the course of the next 5 minutes. Link in the description if you want to get involved. Use the code POWER. Top of the board. Here we go. There's the run on Scotty Scheffler that we were looking for. $8, now just 50 cents behind John Rahm. Scotty Scheffler is the number 1 player in this market. That means he will break all the ties. So if there is a 9-way tie for second, guess who gets the number 1 share, or the full share of second? It's Scotty Scheffler. John Rahm is the second pre-ranked golfer, 850. Rory McIlroy, 775. I will bet $1 that is how that these 3 are the 3 most expensive golfers in the market tonight, because I will go out on a very brave limb. Right below that, the below $7 tier, that's where a lot of guys are here. $6.95 for Xander, Victor's at 691. So those guys got to run. Can't lay up to 650, and Terrell Hatton as well. Ricky Fowler got that early jump up to 605 and basically has not moved off that mark for about 15 minutes or so. So an early run on Ricky, and now sentiment is not necessarily souring, but momentum is cooling here as he's already at a number that many people think is right. Max Homa did just jump him up to 606. A little bit further down the board, haven't spoke about Jason Day. He's at $4.80. He's below his own fair value, and he has got a decent pre-rank, all things considered, 15th. It's right behind Colin Morikawa's pre-rank, and right between that, Morikawa and Finau. So it's a pretty good pre-rank for J-Day, someone that we haven't talked about coming off a runner-up finish at the Open Championship. Maybe we should be spending some oxygen on J-Day over the course of the next minute or two, because that's all we've got left, about 4 minutes. Emiliano Grillo, $4.30, has been the fourth best putter on tour since the Players Championship. That's bonkers to think. He has returned you a profit in 3 of his last 4 cash markets. Let's go deeper. Lee Hodges, remember him? Fresh off a win at the 3M Open where he laps the field. He's now returned you 2 different triple-digit ROIs in his last 3 starts. T12 at the Scottish Open, win at the 3M Open. Stellar stuff from Lee Hodges. The second page, cheapest guy you can get, Mac Hughes. Mac Hughes has done not much. 2 wins in his last 5 starts. Hasn't played particularly well. Taylor Montgomery, $2.55. Hayden Buckley. Haven't talked about Hayden Buckley. He's been injured. He hasn't played since the Travelers Championship. I believe it is a rib injury, and apparently he's going to be good to go. Your guess is as good as mine, because he has not played in weeks, and he has not played well when he was playing. So we will see on Taylor Montgomery. 8:58 p.m. Eastern time. We've got about a minute or 2 left in this market, just in the IPO phase. Then the live trading is going to happen. And there, yeah, Joe's right here. So we're getting up over, or getting close to $10 for the big 3. $9.95 for Scotty Scheffler. John Rahm, $9.46. Rory McIlroy, $9.24. Big gap to everybody else. So the big 3 are forging a path. $9.95 for Scotty this week with the updated valuations is 9th or better. So basically inside that top 10 for Scotty Scheffler at his current price. Then that second tier is led by Xander and Cantlay. So we did get a little bit of a run there. Hovland and Hatton, and then a gap. That's gap number 2. To Colin Morikawa, Max Homa, Matt Fitzpatrick, who's got some of the best history around this place. He is the 13th pre-ranked golfer, although he has lost you in 3 straight. He's lost you in 4 out of 5. The game has not been particularly sharp. I've got 859. I'm going to try to steal one more refresh here because I know this is getting hot and heavy. Most of my holding, I've got 2 holdings left. We'll see if I can hang on to those. Oh, I think we're done, Joe.
Yeah. Oh my God. That was one of the wilder ones, and maybe the product of less players being available, but I was like, my phone was just buzzing left and right as I'm losing shares on guys. Things were moving very fast in terms of the pricing.
Okay. So the IPO is closed. The dust is going to settle here. The shares of golfers are going to be sent over. The live market will be live momentarily where you can get involved and take advantage of it. Let me see if I have the updated numbers, Joe. I do not just yet. So do you have your portfolio?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Okay. At the very top, hold on one moment. Okay, I got shares of John Rahm, $9.55 per share.
Nice.
That was my max price, and I think he got all the way there. Moving down in the $7 range, Victor Hovland at $7.40. $6 range, Tommy Fleetwood at $6.50. Went well over his fair value, but we were kind of thinking that was going to be the case. Cameron Young at $5.80, Corey Connors at $5.30, Hideki Matsuyama at $5.25. Those are 3 in the sort of mid-range that I feel pretty good about. I like one of those guys to potentially slip inside like the top 8 this week. And my 3 sort of penny stocks, I mentioned Svensson. I did not talk about Sam Ryder, who was 298. And I actually really like Nick Hardy, who was 327 this week. He's been playing much better golf lately, 27th, 13th, 21st in his last 3 starts. So things have absolutely been trending in the right direction for Hardy at just above $3 per share.
Rahm, Hovland, Fleetwood, Cam Young, Corey Connors, Hideki Matsuyama, Adam Svensson, Nick Hardy, Sam Ryder for Joe. And I'll tell you what, Joe, I have Sam Ryder's share as well. So let's ride with Ryder. I got Sam Ryder. I got Steven Yeager. I will now get to work in the market because I was busy calling the action for the last couple of minutes. Looking at the chat here, let's see. Brett got Rahm, Yeager, Grillo, Big Sep. So a couple of overlaps with us. Phil got Fitz, Fleetwood, McCarthy, Rose. We didn't talk about him. Grillo, Straka, Eric Cole, Svensson, and Glover. Eddie got Wyndham Clark, Andrew Putnam, Steven Yeager. Some pretty good ones there. If you look at the final pricing, Joe, you were absolutely right. The fair values got obliterated. They were too low. We knew it. No problem. The big 3 in order, 1, 2, 3, Scotty Scheffler, John Rahm, Rory McIlroy.
Yep, they were all up there. And what is that, $2 basically, or $1.50 clearance between necks. So Rory had a really late run. Scotty was flying up the board late. And Rahm was probably the most holding pattern of them all. But a ton of bids coming in on them all. I think people are attracted to the percentage of time that these guys potentially top 10, and you're inside that mark basically now in a smaller field on an event that will have their utmost attention. I can't disparage any of those picks.
It's hard to argue with this order. Xander, Cantlay, Hovland, Hatton, Morikawa, but there is just a general, I think, lack of respect for what Hatton has been doing. He's been phenomenal. Last 36 rounds, he's the second best player in this field behind Scotty Scheffler. Wow. He does it in a way which is super strong for this golf course. If you want to make any Florida golf comps, he usually checks those off as well. I think, listen, am I going to be the first guy? Do I think he should have been $8 and a bit more expensive than Xander? I don't know. But I just think in general, that is not enough respect on Tyrrell Hatton.
I kind of tend to agree with you there. He is, and the thing is we've kind of seen this, right? He hasn't won in a while, which is, I think, what those other guys have been able to do, which is probably why he's a little less respected. And frankly, he's actually been in contention on Sundays and not had his best performance a few times. In Canada, I think of Scotland. He's been right there with it, almost can taste it, and has let people down. I think people tend to remember that. But what I mean by you can kind of there was an avenue to see Wyndham Clark at the U.S. Open coming. There was an avenue where you can look at some of the form that Lee Hodges had been putting together before the 3MO. You could have landed on Lucas Glover last week, a guy who has been playing fantastic golf, and the numbers are telling you that everything is there. It's just going to come soon. Tyrrell Hatton kind of feels like the guy most likely to sort of fit that narrative.
Yeah, if you put a 1 here as the most recent finishing position, we would look back and say, well, yeah, it was coming.
Look at that season.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Awesome.
The Ricky Fowler, I swear, was 621 when we went on air an hour ago, and is 621. He somebody got the bid in early and said, I'm getting Ricky no matter what, and don't worry about it.
Somebody got it in early and scared everyone else off because they saw the cheaper prices and they just didn't look at them, which we see sometimes.
Here's Denny at 490. So this week, 490 is going to require a 23rd or better, 70-person field, 23rd or better.
It's fair. I tend to probably at that price point agree with your side that it's a little bit inflated and there's some troubling aspects that have been coming on. You mentioned Sam Burns is kind of your guy this week, and he played. You mentioned him last week on the show, and I was kind of like, wow. I remember at the end of it, we were both like, wow, Sam Burns is too cheap. It feels kind of that way again this week, and a guy who has definite winning upside and was lost in a playoff at this event a few years ago.
Yeah, I agree. Right. He's lost in a playoff. He finished 20th here. He's got a great style of golf for this. I think that he is a little bit riskier than some of the other guys. He's kind of a streaky-ish where hey, he might miss some cuts and he might win a golf tournament. He doesn't have to worry about missing the cut this week. So I'm interested to see what he's able to put together. But yeah, I mean, listen, I guess it's fair. You know, he should be below Ricky Fowler. Cam Young's been playing great golf as well. The sixth and the eighth, and you can cut him some slack on the 3M Open coming back from overseas and missing that cut. So I think he's right where he's at. I'm just kind of excited about where he's headed.
Same here.
Cool. All right. Well, we are headed to the BMW Championship next week, but this market is really just beginning. Now it's live, so you can go and get your bids in. You can buy, you can sell, you can short, you can follow the action and live trade this thing. You can do anything you want. It is an absolute blast, Joe.
Yep, the markets are live now in terms of the IPO and the trading of players. You can short guys, you can do mass buys. We should mention the Pick'em contest as well is live again this week. And actually, what we had sort of launched a few weeks ago and helping them with the Jock Pot is now up to over $20,000. So you could throw a couple of picks from the PGA this week on your way to maybe try to potentially achieve that. And of course, like we always mention, the tweet that they put out, right? Retweet it. Please support Jock Market, help support us as well. You basically are going to, if you pick the correct winner or the guy who even finishes best of those 4 players they have available, you're going to have like a 1 in 6 shot at 150. And I've had a couple of people reach out who have cashed in on that as well. Yeah. So great opportunities there and more cool giveaways and contests that they've been running.
Yes, I did a bad job of the promos this week, but Jock Market, they support us in a big way. They support the industry in a big way. When we did our fantasy draft, they were absolutely on like, whatever you need. So go support them. It goes a long way, and I think they do things right. We will see you next week, same time, same place, BMW Championship. You can follow Joe on Twitter at TorPicks. You can find me at RickRunGood. This has been your Jock Market Power Hour for the FedEx St. Jude Championship. Good luck.
Good luck.